By Monday morning, Tyler Hastings was back in his hoodie and sneakers, but he carried the lake with him, the cool sand under Emily's sandals, Jason's hand brushing his arm, the almost kiss that still lingered like static in the air. And the headlights. Nancy's headlights. It didn't take long. Tyler was at his locker between classes when Nancy appeared, leaning against the metal door with a grin that was all teeth. "Morning, Tyler," she sang. Or should I say, Emily? His blood froze. "What are you talking about?" Nancy tilted her head, her eyes glinting. "Oh, come on. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Carnival girl, the bakery, the lake, her smirk widened. "You make a very convincing niece." "Almost too convincing." Tyler's voice cracked. "You don't have proof." Nancy shrugged. "Don't need proof. Jason Miller's already obsessed. Imagine what happens if I tell him his mystery girl is just you in a dress." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Unless, of course, you make it worth my while to stay quiet." Tyler's stomach churned. Blackmail? Nancy's smile was pure satisfaction. "Let's just call it leverage." The worst part was, Jason was only a few lockers away. Tyler could feel his eyes, the weight of his presence. Jason wasn't listening yet, but if he caught even a piece of this conversation, it would all unravel. Tyler slammed his locker shut. "Leave me alone, Nancy." But her laugh followed him down the hall, sharp and knowing. That evening, Emily sat at the kitchen table, hands shaking as she recounted everything. Lorraine listened in silence, her fingers steepled under her chin. When Emily finished, her mother exhaled slowly. "Nancy is clever, but she's careless. If she had real proof, she'd have used it already. She's bluffing." Emily's voice cracked. "What if Jason believes her?" Lorraine's eyes softened. "Then Jason isn't the boy you think he is." She reached across the table, taking Emily's trembling hand. "But Emily, listen to me. The only power Nancy has is the power you give her. If you cower, she wins. If you walk into school tomorrow as though she knows nothing, she'll crumble." Emily's breath hitched. "You want me to keep being Emily? Even now?" Lorraine squeezed her hand, her voice firm. "Especially now." The next day, Jason cornered Tyler outside the gym. His grin was easy, but his eyes burned with quiet intent. "So, Emily," he used the name deliberately, his voice low so no one else could hear. "Friday night wasn't enough for me. There's a party at Brett's place this weekend. Come with me." Tyler's heart nearly stopped. A house party. Crowds of classmates. Music. Drinks. No hiding in shadows. Jason leaned closer. "I'll make sure you're safe. Just say yes." Emily's lips parted, her mind spinning. Nancy's threat still hung in the air, but Jason's gaze was steady, hopeful. She swallowed hard. "I'll think about it." Jason smirked. "Don't think too long." That night, Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. Nancy had her cornered. Jason had her enchanted. And Lorraine, her mother, was pushing her deeper into Emily's world with every word. She felt the walls closing in, the game collapsing into something real and dangerous. Because soon, there wouldn't be a Tyler left to hide behind. By Saturday night, Emily's nerves were stretched thin. Lorraine had pressed a soft cream blouse into her hands, paired with a skirt that swished just above the knees. "Not too flashy," her mother said, adjusting a necklace at her throat. "But enough to make him notice." Emily's hands shook as she fastened the clasp. "Mom, this is crazy. If Nancy's there." "Then prove her wrong," Lorraine interrupted. "The stronger you are as Emily, the weaker Nancy looks." It sounded simple. But nothing about tonight felt simple. When Jason pulled up in his truck, Emily's breath caught. He wasn't in his football jacket, just a fitted shirt and jeans, his hair pushed back in an effortless wave. "You look," Jason's voice faltered, and for a moment, Emily saw something vulnerable flicker in his eyes. "Beautiful." Her cheeks warmed. "Thanks." As she climbed into the passenger seat, the danger of the night didn't feel quite as heavy. Brett's house was already thumping with music by the time they arrived. The living room was packed, lights dim, laughter spilling out onto the porch. Emily kept close to Jason, clutching a soda he'd handed her, feeling the heat of his arm every time someone brushed too close. But she could feel Nancy's presence even before she saw her. Sure enough, Nancy appeared near the kitchen, leaning against the counter with her usual smirk. Her eyes found Emily instantly, narrowing like a cat ready to pounce. Jason noticed her too. "Ignore her," he muttered, steering Emily toward the back porch. "She's just jealous." Jealous. The word sent a shiver through her. The night air was cooler outside. Jason leaned on the railing, close enough that Emily could smell the faint spice of his cologne. "You know," he said, looking at her, "there's something about you. Everyone else feels fake, like they're trying too hard. But you," he shook his head. "You're different." Emily swallowed hard. The lie sat between them like a landmine. Different. If only he knew how different. Still, part of her wanted to believe it. Part of her wanted to let Jason's words build a bridge between who she was and who she was becoming. The sliding door rattled open, and there she was, Nancy, holding a red cup, smirk locked in place. Well, she purred. "Emily Hastings. Didn't think you'd actually show." Jason's brow furrowed. "What's your problem, Nancy?" Her eyes glittered. "Oh, nothing. Just funny how Tyler's cousin looks an awful lot like Tyler. Same eyes. Same mouth." She tilted her head, savoring the moment. "Almost like they're the same person." Jason stiffened. His gaze flicked to Emily, searching, questioning. Emily's pulse roared in her ears. Nancy's words hung in the air. Jason's eyes, once so sure, now looked uncertain, as if he was piecing together fragments he hadn't wanted to see. Emily's throat went dry. She could run. She could deny. Or she could look Jason in the eye and... Before she could decide, Jason cut in sharply. "Enough, Nancy." His voice was cold, harder than Emily had ever heard it. "You're just trying to ruin something good because you're miserable. Leave us alone." Nancy blinked, her smirk faltering. For once, she had no comeback. She turned with a huff and stormed back inside, leaving Jason and Emily on the porch, silence thick around them. Jason's gaze returned to Emily, lingering, searching. "Tell me the truth," he said quietly. "Who are you, really?" Emily's chest ached. The night had led her here, to this impossible moment. And she had no idea what would happen if she dared to answer. The night air was still, heavy with the smell of bonfire smoke drifting from the backyard. Jason's question, "Who are you, really?" hung in the air like a blade waiting to drop. Emily's heart pounded so hard she thought he might hear it. Her voice caught. She looked down at her hands, twisting nervously around the soda cup. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I never meant to." Jason stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "Just say it. Please." She closed her eyes. Every muscle inside her screamed to run, to hide, to vanish back into Tyler's skin where she'd be safe. But the thought of Jason looking at her with disappointment, of believing Nancy over her, hurt more than any risk of exposure. "I'm not who you think I am," she whispered. Her throat tightened, but she forced the words out. "My real name is Tyler. Emily is, me too, but different." Her confession tumbled out in a rush, raw and trembling. "I didn't plan this. It just happened. And when I'm Emily, I feel like the person I'm supposed to be. But I never wanted to trick you, Jason. Never." For a long moment, Jason didn't say anything. His face was unreadable, his hands shoved deep into his pockets as if anchoring himself. Then he exhaled, slow and heavy. So Nancy was right. Emily flinched. If you hate me now, I get it. Just, please don't let her use this to ruin everything. I can disappear. I'll never bother you again. Jason interrupted, his voice low but firm. Stop. He looked at her then, not with disgust, not with pity, but with a complicated mix of confusion, anger, and something softer. I don't hate you, he said finally. I don't know what to do with this. You lied, Emily. But at the same time, his jaw tightened. You weren't lying when we were together. I saw it. I felt it. And that scares me more than anything. They stood inches apart, the porch light haloing them in gold. Emily's breath caught as Jason's hand twitched, like he wanted to reach for her but didn't trust himself. You're the first person in a long time who made me feel like I wasn't just some guy everyone expected to be perfect, Jason admitted, his voice raw. That wasn't fake. Don't tell me it was fake. It wasn't, Emily whispered. Tears pricked her eyes. It was the truest thing I've ever felt. For one suspended second, it seemed like the world would tilt into something impossible. Jason leaned just slightly forward, and Emily's heart lurched. But then the sliding door banged open again. Jason! We need you! Brett's voice cut through the moment. A drunken fight was breaking out inside. Jason swore under his breath, dragging a hand through his hair. I have to deal with this. He gave Emily one last, unreadable look. Stay here. Please. And then he was gone, swallowed by the chaos inside, leaving Emily trembling in the night. Emily sank onto the porch railing, her mind spinning. She had told Jason the truth. He hadn't walked away. But he hadn't accepted her either. Her biggest fear had become reality, and yet, part of her felt lighter. Because now, at least, Jason knew. And the battle for what happened next had only just begun. Inside the house, the party was unraveling fast. Music blasted too loud, kids shouted over each other, and Jason had his hands full dragging Brett away from a fight over spilled beer. But Emily barely noticed any of it. She was still on the porch, her arms hugging herself tight, replaying the moment again and again. She had told him. Jason knew. And he hadn't rejected her, not completely. That flicker of hope kept her steady. Until the sliding door opened again. Well. Emily froze. Nancy stood in the doorway, one hand propped against the frame, her smirk sharpened into something cruel. Imagine my surprise when I found you out here all alone. Or should I say, she tilted her head. Tyler? The name was a knife. Emily's stomach dropped. Nancy, please. Oh, don't start begging, Nancy cut in, stepping closer. This is delicious. I knew something was off, and now I've got it. Jason's precious Emily is nothing more than a costume. I could tell everyone inside right now. She gestured toward the party. Can you imagine their faces? Jason's, especially? Emily's throat went dry. What do you want? Nancy's eyes gleamed. Simple. You disappear. No more Emily. No more sneaking around with Jason. You drop it, and I keep my mouth shut. Deal? Emily's pulse hammered. And if I don't? Nancy leaned in, her voice dropping to a hiss. Then tomorrow, everyone at school will know. Your secret won't just be whispers anymore. It'll be headlines. For a moment, Emily almost caved. The fear was overwhelming, crushing. But then she remembered Jason's face when he'd said, "Don't tell me it was fake." He hadn't walked away. He hadn't laughed. Something inside her snapped. No, Emily said, her voice steadier than she expected. I'm not disappearing. Not for you. Nancy blinked, surprised by the sudden steal. Excuse me? You heard me, Emily pressed on, her hands shaking but her tone unyielding. You don't control me, Nancy. If you want to tell people, go ahead. At least then it'll be out in the open. But I won't let you scare me into erasing myself. Nancy's smirk faltered, just for a second. Then her eyes narrowed. Fine. Don't say I didn't warn you. She spun on her heel and stalked back into the house, leaving the scent of her perfume and the promise of war behind her. Moments later, Jason stepped outside, wiping sweat from his brow. Sorry about that, Brett's an idiot. Are you? He paused, seeing Emily's face, pale and trembling. What happened? Emily opened her mouth, but the words stuck. Should she tell him Nancy's threat? Or hold it in, afraid that repeating it would make it real? Jason frowned, stepping closer, his hand brushing her arm. Emily. Talk to me. She met his eyes, torn between the urge to protect herself and the growing trust in him. The secret was already out once tonight, could she risk it again? Jason's hand lingered on Emily's arm, steady and insistent. His voice was softer this time, but there was no mistaking the urgency. Emily, something's wrong. Tell me. She swallowed hard. The weight of Nancy's words pressed down on her chest. She wanted to trust him. She needed to trust him. But the thought of Jason recoiling if she admitted that Nancy knew everything made her hesitate. She started, but the sliding door behind them opened again. And this time, Nancy didn't just step out. She dragged the entire party with her. Hey everyone! Nancy shouted over the music. Her voice carried sharp and triumphant. Guess what? You're perfect. Emily isn't real. She's been lying to all of you. The chatter in the room hushed, curiosity pulling people closer. Phones were raised instantly, ready for drama. Nancy smirked, her eyes locked on Emily like a hunter about to strike. Her real name is Tyler. That's right. She's not the sweet girl you all think she is, just a boy in a dress, pretending. The words landed like thunder. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers erupted, half disbelief, half cruel laughter.